Welcome back. This is our fourth lesson, I believe, in our probability unit. And today it's called expectations. So let's get started. Let's fill in this chart, flipping a coin. If we have, let's look at this chart here. We're going to look at the total number of outcomes on a coin are 2 because there's only heads or tails. So it's either heads or tails. That's the only option available. Number of heads outcomes 1, number of tails outcome 1. Fraction of outcomes expected to be heads, so that would be 1 over 2. And for tails, it would be 1 over 2. Now for the grade 6s, you've also been writing it as a decimal, so I'm going to include that for you on the side over here. If we flip a coin 10 times, how many heads do we expect? How many tails? Well, let's do the math here. So if this is heads, if it's 1 over 2, if we were to do it 10 times, we would do this. So then you would just have to multiply the denominator 2 times a number, which is 5, gives us 10. And then you multiply the top. So you should get 5 heads. 5 heads and 5 tails. They're both the same because they're 1 and 2. If we did this experiment 100 times, same thing. You just have to multiply the denominator to match the outcome. So 2 times 50 times 50. So each one would be 50 times. So let's look at this chart over here. Or it's got multiple columns, but let's look. First one. Total number of outcomes for here is 2. Number of gray outcomes, 1. Number of white outcomes, 1. So the fraction is 1 over 2 for both of them. I'm also going to include the decimal for the grade 6s. 0.50 for both. Now let's look at the next one. Total number of outcomes here, there are 4. There are 2 gray, there are 2 white. The fraction is 2 over 4 for both of them. And the decimal is also 0.50 for both of them. And lastly, the third column, same for everything. It's identical. Even though they're not beside each other, they're both the same odds. So what do we expect if we spin the spinner 40 times? So let's just use this middle one here. It doesn't matter which one we use. And let's focus on gray. So 2 out of 4 would be gray. And if we were to do it 40 times, you would have to multiply this by 10, that by 10. You should get gray 20 times. You should also get white 20 times. Now for a bigger number, if we were to do this 500 times, remember gray was 2 over 4 equals over 500. Now, off the top of my head, I do believe it's multiplied by 125. And this is multiplied by 125. You would get 250. So that's how you can predict how many times an outcome should happen. So if you were to do this experiment 500 times, you will get about 250 gray land. Like it lands on it 250 times. So now let's look at this slide over here. Is there an equal chance of spinning red, spinning green, and spinning blue? Well, let's have a look at the spinner. Well, the total possible outcomes, there are 3. Chances of spinning blue are 1 in 3. Okay. The probability is unlikely. And that would apply for all of them, whether it's blue, whether it's green, because green is 1 over 3. And whether it's, what's the last one? Red. Red is also 1 over 3. So they would both be unlikely. So, but when they are compared to each other, they all have an equal chance of being spun. So it's equal to each other, but if you're just spinning it one time and you want to pick green, it's unlikely you will get green. Okay, so let's try this one here. I am going to spin the spinner 12 times. To find out how many times we expect to spin blue, we need to find 1/3 of 12. Now, if you remember, In the older videos and in class, I just told you to do this. This is all I told you to do. And you have to multiply this by 4 so it can equal 12. And what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So 1/3 of 12 is 4. And if you look here, you're supposed to have 3 equal groups. They all have 4 inside. And that's how you would do it with a drawing. I'm not a fan of this. I prefer this. It's just easier, but whatever works for you, I'm good with that. So use division to find the answer. So I'm going to rewrite all of these. 1/2 equals something over 10. So you have to multiply it by 5. And then here, 1/2 equals something over 16. 2 times 8 gives us 16. 1 times 8 is 8. And there's your answer. 1/3 equals something over 18. 3 times 6, 1 times 6, there's your answer. And 1/4 equals something over 20. 4 times 5 is our answer. And it's 5/20. This is why I prefer this way. I don't like drawing circles and circling them if I don't have to. And here's another more detailed slide looking at this spinner. Total number of outcomes, there are 4. Number of gray, there's 1. Number of white, 3. The fraction of outcomes expected to be gray, that's 1/4. The fraction expected to be white, 3/4. So for the grade 6s, here's the decimal that you need. Grade 5s, I recommend you doing the decimal too, but I don't know. You're going to do it anyways. So for these ones here, they're a little different. Out of 4 spins, how many should we get to be gray? So it's already given to us. You're supposed to get 1 gray. And out of 4 spins, you should get 3 white. The next one's a little different. Out of 8 spins. So you would write this. 1/4 equals out of 8. Multiply by 2, multiply by 2. This is 2. So you should get 2 grays. And for the white, it's 3/4 out of 8. Multiply by 2, multiply by 2, you get 6. And you should get 6 white outcomes. And our final slide for today. A spinner has 25 regions. Oh boy. I am not drawing a 25 region spinner. And 12 of them are red. If you spin the spinner 100 times, what do you expect? Do you expect to spin red more than 50 times or less than 50 times? Well, my advice to you is to create the fraction. It has 25 regions. That's your denominator. And this is your numerator. This is what you're looking for. 12/25. And you have to spin it 100 times. Equals 100. So now you've done all the math. Well, at least you got it started. 25 times 4 gives you 100. 12 times 4 is 48. So you are expected to land 48 times on red. So that would be more than or less than. It's actually less than. And here is your explanation. You did the math. And the decimal would be 0.48. So for the decimal, 12 divided by 25 is 0.48. Also, 48 divided by 100 is equal to 0.48. So that's the video for today. Thanks for stopping by. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.